Hello, welcome to Misterios Divinos podcast. We're heading to the mountains of eastern Turkey, to a place where a discovery was made that continues to spark debate, inspire faith, and fuel some pretty intense scientific investigation.
Imagine you're flying over this remote region, and you look down and see this. It's over 500 feet long. It's got the unmistakable, symmetrical shape of a massive boat. But here's the thing. It's resting on a mountainside, miles and miles from any sea. So, of course, it raises a legendary question.
And when Life magazine put this picture on its pages back in 1960 with that simple, explosive question, Noah's Ark, it set off a global firestorm. I mean, the shape just seemed undeniable. Could this really be it? The final resting place of the biblical ark, just hiding in plain sight for all these years? That shape alone was enough to draw explorers from all over the world to this remote spot. And what they found? Well, it seemed to go way beyond just a coincidental outline. They believed the actual measurements lined up with an ancient blueprint.
And this is where things get really interesting. Researchers were pretty stunned when they measured the site. You see, when they used the ancient Egyptian cubit as their measurement, they found the length and width were almost a perfect match for the 300 by 50 cubit ratio you read about in the book of Genesis. For a lot of people, a match that precise just couldn't be a coincidence.
And the discoveries just kept piling up. Electronic surveys seemed to show a symmetrical, grid-like pattern just under the surface, like internal walls or chambers. Then metal detectors started going absolutely wild. They got over 5,000 hits from buried iron targets, all arranged in these regular lines, just like you'd expect from the fittings of an ancient ship. They even claim they found samples of petrified gopher wood, the exact type of wood mentioned in the Bible.
And the final piece of the puzzle, for many, was found in some nearby villages. These huge, uniform stones, each one with a hole carved in the top. They were identified as anchor drogues, basically giant, heavy stabilizers that ancient ships would trail behind them in rough seas. The case was starting to look really undeniable.
But you know what they say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and this is where our story takes a dramatic turn. The tools of modern geology were brought in, and the focus shifted from the giant shape of a boat to the microscopic makeup of the rocks.
So to really get to the bottom of this, scientists like geologist Lawrence Collins knew they had to look past the boat-like shape. They had to figure out what this thing was actually made of. Was it really ancient petrified wood and man-made metal? Or was it something else entirely? The answer, as it turns out, wasn't in the big picture, but under the microscope.
And this right here illustrates their discovery perfectly. On the left, you've got a sample that was claimed to be an iron rivet from the ark. But look at the right. Under the microscope, it tells a totally different story. That's not smelted man-made metal. It's a natural concentration of iron-rich minerals, things like magnetite and limonite, all packed together.
So, it turns out those thousands of iron fittings that made the metal detectors go crazy were just natural mineral deposits. Minerals like this one, guthite, can look shiny and metallic, and yeah, they're definitely full of enough iron to set off a detector. But they're formed by geology, not by ancient shipbuilders forging metal in a fire.
And as the scientists analyzed every piece of the puzzle, the wood, the metal, the walls, the anchors, a completely different story began to emerge. A story written not by shipbuilders, but by the incredible power of the Earth itself. So what about that perfect shape? Well, it turns out it's a known geological feature. It's called a doubly plunging syncline. Basically, tectonic forces bend soft rock layers into a U shape. Then, over millions of years, erosion wears away the softer stuff around it, leaving this hard, symmetrical, boat-like core behind. And those walls people detected? They're just fracture patterns that are super common in this kind of folded rock.
And when you just break it down, claim by claim, the geological explanation becomes pretty clear. The petrified wood? Nope, just local volcanic rock. The metal rivets? Natural iron minerals. The symmetrical walls? Just fracture patterns. And those anchor stones? They were carved from local volcanic rock, not dragged all the way from ancient Mesopotamia. Every single piece of physical evidence pointed to a natural origin.
Now, you'd think that would be the end of the story, right? A broad geological consensus. Case closed. But nope. Not even close. The image of a great ship resting on a mountain is just too powerful to fade away. Decades later, this site is still making headlines. In the last few years, different groups have come out promoting what they call new, groundbreaking radar scans of the site. But as independent researchers have pointed out, these claims aren't new at all.
The results being pushed to the media today are the same ones from years ago, just recycled and re-released.
And this is a really key point to get. GPR is a useful tool, but it doesn't take pictures of what's underground. It sends out a signal and listens for the echo. An anomaly just means the signal changed. That change could be a man-made chamber, or it could just be a shift from one type of rock layer to another. Without digging it up to see what's really there, any claim about finding rooms is just an interpretation.
So why? Why does this one particular rock formation have such a powerful grip on our imagination? The answer might not just be its shape, but the absolutely mind-boggling scale of the biblical story it's connected to.
So, what's with this number? Well, according to one analysis of the biblical text, which calls for 2 of most species, but 7 pairs of every clean animal and bird, this is the staggering number of individual animals that would have had to fit on the ark.
I mean, just think about the logistical challenge here. Housing and feeding and managing the waste for nearly 4 million animals for over a year, all while you're riding out a world-ending storm in a wooden boat. The scale of the story is so immense, it helps you understand why there's such a powerful, deep-seated desire to find real, physical proof that it happened. In the end, the Durpanar site is this perfect intersection of faith, legend, and science. It's a place that, for all the world, looks like an ancient fossilized ship. But it's also a place that geology tells us is a feature of the natural world, sculpted by time and pressure. It reminds us that some mysteries last, not because they're buried in the ground, but because of the power of the stories we tell. If you liked the video, subscribe, leave a like, comment on what you liked most, and share the video.